Okay, welcome, and thank you for joining me today. I'd like to especially thank my colleagues and all our partners in the community. I'd like to begin with the reconciliation statement, and I'd like to acknowledge that we're gathered today on the lands of the Blackfoot people of the Canadian Plains, and we pay respect to the Blackfoot people past, present, and future, while respecting their cultural heritage, beliefs, and relationships to the land. The City of Lethbridge is also the home to the Métis Nation Region 3. I'm really excited to have this opportunity to reflect on the events of the last year and look forward to the milestones ahead. It's been a busy year for the City of Lethbridge and for organizations within the city. It certainly hasn't been without its challenges, but we made some amazing progress, and I'm very proud to speak to you today about what was accomplished in 2019. 2019 was a banner year for our city, and we look forward to all of the exciting things that are yet to come for the City of Lethbridge in the near future. As a brief overview of what to expect during my address today, I'll be speaking about three main areas: progress, challenges, and 2020 vision. The progress made to date and during the blockbuster year that was 2019, the challenges that we see in our community and the planned solutions to combat them, and the 2020 vision of a look ahead as to what's coming over the next 12 months and some of the opportunities and developments taking place, which include opportunities to work together. 2019 proved to be a year of grand openings in the city, new initiatives, and looking inwards as an organization. First of all, we had the census results. It was exciting that in 2019, we had the confirmation we had officially become a city of more than 100,000 people, and the largest city in Alberta, after Calgary and Edmonton. This is a significant milestone in our history and something we should be proud of, and we should continue to remind others that Lethbridge is an important city in the province of Alberta. It's encouraging to know that we're a city that continues to steadily grow and, more importantly, retain these people and families who choose to make Lethbridge their home. Not every city in Alberta can tell that story, and many cities have had a rough few years. 2019 was a blockbuster year for opening facilities and increasing services to our community. From launching our 311 customer service program to cutting the ribbon at the opening of Phase 2 of the ATB Centre, we delivered on some amazing community facilities and programs last year that are the envy of the province. Some of the most important things to note is that for each of the facilities we opened, like the Park and Ride, the ATB Centre, and the Yates Memorial renovation, we paid just cents on the dollar. For the regional Park and Ride terminal, the city funded 24 cents on the dollar. The taxpayers benefited from 76 cents from other orders of government. For the Yates Memorial renovation, the City of Lethbridge funded 30 cents on the dollar, and we received 70 cents from other orders of government. The ATB Centre, both phases, benefited from more than $40 million in external funding. And it's very important that the City of Lethbridge continues to get external funding, the external funding that it deserves from the provincial and federal governments. That's a lot of bang for our buck. We need to continue that our city continues to get its fair share. Another area of progress was reconciliation. Reconciliation was an area I'm especially pleased to see gaining traction and recognition in our city. The Reconciliation Advisory Committee, or RLAC, had a very busy year, and in their third year of funded operation, and City Council administration worked hard to accomplish a lot of the new initiatives that were recommended from the committee. Firstly, the city voted unanimously to adopt Ogi as the official greeting of the City of Lethbridge. It means welcome in Blackfoot. The adoption of the greeting is an important step towards honoring the original people of the land that our city is built on. Language plays an important role in the way connections are made with one another. Key amongst those connections includes transfer of knowledge, celebration of culture, and welcoming those from outside our community. The Oki Project, as you will see in this photo and may have seen around town, was created in collaboration with the Heart of Our City Committee and the Reconciliation Lethbridge Advisory Committee. There's now a mobile project which will roam through the city. A new miniature Oki will reside in City Hall thanks to the RLAC. I find it interesting, when I was wearing Oki buttons, I couldn't keep them on. Every day somebody would come up to me and say, "Where can I get one of those?" And I'd go, "Here you go." And similarly, these buttons that are available from the Lethbridge Public Library, they're already out of stock and had to reorder. And it's very nice to see people in Lethbridge proudly wearing Oki buttons and being part of the Reconciliation Initiative. We're making a lot of progress in terms of acceptance, respect, and understanding. The City of Lethbridge is continuing to work with administration to review and find ways to implement the 231 calls for justice as outlined in the final report on the National Inquiry into Missing and Murdered Indigenous Women and Girls. So back in October, we declared a day, and we honored murdered and missing women on that day. We move on to serving our residents. Two programs that we're especially proud of are 311 and curbside recycling. We were the last city in Alberta to implement curbside recycling, but it's gone exceedingly well. Both of the programs took many years of research, work, and planning to come to fruition, to have a smooth launch. We used best practice, lessons learned from other municipalities, and sought feedback from our residents to come up with two programs that ultimately aim to make life easier and better for living in Lethbridge. By calling 311, residents reach the City of Lethbridge Customer Contact Center staffed with trained customer service specialists who can help callers. This system is designed to streamline customer service by providing an easy-to-remember number where residents can get answers to any city questions. Since launching in March, our customer service specialists have fielded more than 100,000 calls to date. Our customer service specialists have created more than 84,000 service requests based on those calls from residents all over the city. Be it questions about utility bills, garbage pickups, or downed tree branches from a sudden September snowstorm, our 311 team is supporting our residents. As for curbside recycling, in just June 2019 alone, the city collected 96% more recycling through the curbside program than what was collected at the city's recycling stations at the same time through 2018. Since the first curbside collection in May 2019, a total of more than 2.5 million kilograms of recyclable materials was collected with just a 10% contamination rate, which is very low compared to what other municipalities are experiencing. For comparison, cities like Calgary, Red Deer, and Edmonton experience around a 15 to 20% contamination rate. So the education of our residents and the adherence to the program and the acceptance of the program has exceeded our expectations. It's a testament to the effort that our residents make to being thorough and thoughtful with their household waste. It's a fantastic result for our city and one we look to improve upon in the future as we continue working towards waste reduction and diversion targets. Another important area was operational reviews. In November of 2018, the City Council voted to approve a resolution which directed administration to undertake an independent operation of all city operations. This was followed on a recommendation from Build to be more competitive and more efficient in our city. It was an important step for City Council and the organization as a whole because a review like this has not been done in almost 40 years. City Council's focus for the next 4 years is on an accountable spending and a need for greater planning and budgeting in the best possible way. These reviews give us valuable information to have information at our hand to do exactly that. In phase one, the reviews are being done in a phased approach, and the motivation is to ensure that we are continuously improving as an organization, which will ultimately serve our residents in the best way forward and provide better value for money. As of today, phase one has been completed with recommendations being implemented and voted on by council. Phase two is currently underway, with the 9 business units that fall under our infrastructure services being reviewed. This includes everything from parks to water and wastewater planning and more. Most municipalities our size have about 17 municipal departments and areas. We have 34. And so the challenge for us is what's within our scope, what's within our mandate. If it's out of scope, is it providing purpose to the city and benefit to the city? City Council and I are very proud of the work done to date and the work that is continuing on these reviews. The consultant carrying out this work, KPMG, is going through each business unit, asking questions, asking for ideas, and asking for input from staff about how we can be better, faster, and stronger. Most importantly, we're getting hard data, analytics, and recommendations which will enable us to make fact-based decisions as an organization and as a council. We're purposely conducting and reporting on this process in a clear and transparent way. We want our residents to know that we're being thoughtful with their tax dollars and continuously wanting to improve how we use these funds. As you can tell, not every decision is going to be popular. And council is going to have backbone to make sure that we can support some of the decisions, some of the recommendations that are going to be controversial. We look forward to the results of phase two review and the implementation of phase one. Economic health. According to the Conference Board of Canada's mid-sized city report released late last year, our local economy has fired on all cylinders over the last 2 years. 2020 is going to be more challenging, but we can celebrate that in 2017 we expanded by 5.8% and by 5.1% in 2018. Our strong economic performance locally is partially due to having a diversified economy, which makes us a stable city in which to live, work, and play. The report went on to say that Lethbridge is expected to see its gross domestic product expand by 2.6% this year and forecast to grow by an additional 2.7% in 2.6% in 2019, 2.7% in 2020. The report highlights job growth of 2,900 in 2018, held by gains in construction, personal services, information, and cultural industries, which includes tech-based employment. 2019 has been challenging in the construction sector and the house building sector, and we're looking for solutions to that. I'll touch a little bit later on our housing strategy, and some of the projects that we're hoping to get underway fairly shortly. We experienced growth across a variety of sectors with gains in primary and utilities sector, which includes agriculture, non-commercial services, which includes education and healthcare, and those leading the way. In November and December of last year, 2019, Economic Development Lethbridge and the Chamber of Commerce worked together to conduct a survey of business sentiment in the community. Business owners that responded to the survey identified that the quality of life was the biggest advantage to doing business in Lethbridge. Investment in facilities like the ATB Centre helped to attract and retain talent in our city. Here's the results of the survey, and quality of life being number one. And you can see the positives. Stable economic conditions also play a role here. We ended 2019 with the lowest unemployment rate in the province, according to Statistics Canada. The Conference Board of Canada also suggests Lethbridge will see GDP growth in the area of in 2020 in the area of 2.7%, which far exceeds what is expected for Alberta as a whole. With the lowest unemployment rate in the province, it's not surprising that businesses are facing some challenges to find the right skills and the right experience when recruiting. I know that both the University of Lethbridge and Lethbridge College continue to work on aligning their program with industry need. This is work that will continue into the future. Industry will also need to engage with our post-secondary institutions in creating opportunities to develop the talent pipeline through things like co-op and practicum placements. I can only emphasize that it's very important to work with the college and the university to create opportunities for young people with local employers. When people have to leave the city to get experience, they're probably going to leave the city to get employment. And our goals are to try and retain as many of our graduates as practically possible. The Conference Board also noted that Lethbridge saw GDP growth of 5.8% in 2017 and 5.1% in 2018. We continue to benefit from that diversified economy. We continue to see growth in the total number of businesses in Lethbridge, recognizing that some close, some change ownership, or some get sold over time as well. I'd like to thank Economic Development Lethbridge and the Chamber for providing the business report and their continued advocacy and hard work on behalf of the city. Presenting this information to Council is helpful and informs us in our future decisions. This leads me to our own financial performance. As you may be aware, Lethbridge does not have a business tax, while a city like Calgary does. By combining residential and business taxes, we get a more accurate comparison of the total tax dollars being collected by each city per person. Cities have two assessment bases from which they draw taxes to help fund their annual operating budgets: residential and non-residential. When residents ask me why residential taxes in Lethbridge aren't lower, I point to this comparison. In Lethbridge, our commercial assessment base makes up a smaller proportion of our overall property assessment base than other mid-sized cities and major Alberta cities. Most are around 25% non-residential assessment, while Lethbridge, it's still only 19%. By working hard to attract new businesses to Lethbridge, we want to gradually increase our proportion of commercial assessment base, which would allow us to shift more of the tax burden from residential taxpayers without raising rates. So what does it take to operate the city on a day-to-day basis? As we look at the operating costs, the top operating costs, the bulk goes towards essential services that we need to be a safe, vibrant, and healthy place to live. 22% go to protective services, so police, fire, and ambulance. 20% to electric. 18% to infrastructure and transportation services, and 17% to leisure and human services. These four areas comprise 77% of our annual operating budget. Where does the revenue come from to fund the operating budget? 39% comes from the sales of goods and services, including utility service charges and user fees for things like recreation and cultural facilities. 30% comes from the municipal portion of your property taxes and other levies. 12% comes from provincial and federal grants. That might be under a little pressure these days. You can see the rest of the breakdown on the chart. Here's a more detailed illustration to break down what the municipal portion of your tax bill paid for in 2018. Again, you see the largest percent going to our vital emergency services, with police at 21%, fire and ambulance at 14%, and 21% going to the community services. Community services include things like recreation and culture, the NMAX Centre, the Lethbridge Public Library, and regulatory services. We have some excellent resources on the city website that provide additional detail and are quite easy to understand. Just visit lethbridge.ca and search City Finances. This information and more will be available in our annual report, which is due to be released in the spring. We also will be having community consultations at the end of March. And at any time, you can write a letter to mayor@lethbridge.ca or council@lethbridge.ca and ask any further questions, or just approach us one-to-one. No doubt we have challenges. There's a lot of good happening in our great city, but it's also true that we share sometimes more than our share of the challenges. In particular, the social issues related to substance abuse have been earnestly felt by our business and wider community. No one's happy about that. What I stressed is the importance of unity. I think I understand and can plainly see that our city is dealing with complex and serious social issues. And it's been a time of hardship for our city. We do need to be united. We do need to ask the province for the services that our city lacks. Just having police and having a supervised consumption site is not the solution long-term to the drug crisis in our city. The McLean survey said Lethbridge was number 15 in terms of crime and drug-related crime. There were 14 other cities, most of them in Western Canada, that ranked higher than Lethbridge or lower, depending which way you look at that. None of them had a supervised consumption site. All of them are dealing with drug-related crime, just like we are. So we have to manage that crisis, but the big thing that we're lacking, and I say over and over again, we don't have what Calgary and Edmonton have. We don't have those supports. And we desperately need those supports. We need supported housing. We need effective prevention and education. We need treatment facilities, and we need a door. We need a bright future for those who want to escape addiction. So without those supports, we will always struggle. And our community has to be united in asking for those supports from the orders of government that provide them. To be frank, we may be divided on topics like the SCS, but we're united in the recognition that until we get the detox, intox, and supported housing and treatment facilities that we so desperately need, we will continue to be required to react as a city council and as a community to the ever-changing social issues related to drugs. The only areas of our city budget that received any form of support were security, policing issues. Everything else was frozen. When it comes to this complex issue, I believe we all want the same things. We want our community to feel safe and clean, a place to be proud of and to call home. We also want those impacted by drug addiction to get the support and care needed. And lastly, we want to see action to make this happen. Although the general public may not see the work going on in this area, there has been immense resources dedicated to it and will continue to be a high priority while these problems exist in our city. Due to the hard work and collaboration with organizations like the Chamber of Commerce, the Downtown BRZ, Alberta Health Services, and likely by many of you here today, we are seeing a slight change. From this clean sweep crews who are out tidying and cleaning our streets first thing in the morning, and they have been substantially expanded. The watch teams out patrolling, and the peace officers, we are dedicating resources to help effect change. An additional $1.1 million was approved to the base operating budget of the Lethbridge Police Services, specifically to target and address safety and crime in our community. The operating budget also included more than $8 million over the next 4 years for new initiatives within Lethbridge Police Services to help improve community safety. We spend more on policing than any other municipality as a percentage of our budget. City Council also approved an increase of $90,000 a year until 2021 to enhance safety and security at the Lethbridge Public Library's main branch. In addition to these initiatives, City Council voted to fund the downtown clean and safe strategy until 2022 for a total of just over $1.6 million. The funding is being spread across 3 years and is being applied to 20 initiatives that focus specifically on creating a safe, clean, and welcoming environment in the downtown. Next item I'd like to talk about is the provincial budget. Switching to a provincial focus, we knew going into the budget announcement last year that it would be one of restraint and fiscal responsibility. The McKinnon report outlined some stark realities for many communities and institutions, and our city was no exception. The reduction of the Municipal Sustainability Initiative funds, MSI funds, was of considerable note to our city. Receiving matching capital funds from the province is essential to keeping our economy moving forward and essential to clear and effective planning for capital. We saw a $2 million reduction in our MSI capital in 2020 and a further $3 million in 2021. While not surprising, it's an adjustment and one we've taken in stride, and we were prepared for it. But it doesn't help us solve some of our local economic challenges with housing and our economy going forward. In some ways, while the provincial government conducted their McKinnon report, we've conducted our operational reviews, and we hope that the savings obtained from the operational reviews are going to help us cope with the reductions we can anticipate in the future from the provincial government. And we have to be focused on specific strategic targets for support from the province. Restraint was the message that Premier Kenney and Minister Madu delivered in person when I hosted the mid-sized city mayors meeting in September. So that's 22 mid-sized cities, similar to the city of Lethbridge, all came to Lethbridge. And it certainly elevated our profile. We need to make sure that we continue to elevate our profile in the future. But certainly being able to address the minister, being able to say that we would work with the provincial government, that we hope that in the future, if we work with the province, that they also will remember that we were one group of municipalities that supported the provincial agenda, and we would like to see our agenda supported going forward into the future, and that big mid-sized cities like Lethbridge receive a higher profile and more recognition from the provincial government. This meeting saw the mayors and CAOs of the 22 Alberta municipalities discuss a variety of key issues ranging from mortgage stress tests to provincial drug strategies and solutions. Premier Kenney spoke frankly to the caucus about how, regardless of the budget, he and his government will continue to partner with municipalities for economic growth, jobs, diversification, innovation, and opportunities to grow revenue. It was amazing to have those cities visit us, the mayor's visit. On the tours we did around the city, they were blown away. When they saw the new downtown transit terminal, when they saw the new Cavendish investment, when they saw the new ATB center, several of them were aware that Edmonton's building a very similar center at twice the cost that it was built in Lethbridge. So the effect, a lot of people came and said, well, where are the issues in Lethbridge? And we held our meetings in the downtown. We went to downtown restaurants. We said, it's right here. And so it's a way, those people left, those mayors left. And I've had numerous comments from all those mayors since they left saying that was the best conference they'd had in years. And they learned a lot by coming to Lethbridge. So we can be proud of what we have. Those mayors wish they had what we have in Lethbridge. So sometimes the negativity gets the best of us, and I'll come to that. But City Council recently took the initiative to further strengthen our relationships with the province by enlisting the expertise of a consulting firm to provide government engagement and advocacy support. And I want to stress, we did not hire a lobbyist. Somehow that went out into the media, we'd hired a lobbyist. We did not. We hired someone to help us as a city council refine our message. We had a report from Western Management Consultants back in November suggesting that we do a stronger role of advocacy. So recognizing that our profile and that of the city of Lethbridge is not as high as it should be in Edmonton. So again, we need to, on a full-time basis, receive support to raise our profile, make sure our messages are heard more consistently in Edmonton in a non-partisan way, on an issues-focused way. So what we've done is we've hired this firm, Crown Consulting, and the firm will work on a 6-month contract. Other cities hire someone on staff. It costs, their salaries for this position are between $100,000 and $130,000 a year. We're paying $5,000 a month plus expenses for a 6-month trial. So that's probably about 6 months, $6,000, $36,000. So instead of hiring someone permanently, while we're doing operational reviews, I think we have to be careful how we spend money ourselves at City Council. We need to get the services we need without making commitments going on into the future. This will allow us to see if this is an approach we see value in pursuing going forward into the future. We look forward to keeping the working partnership with the provincial government moving forward to new possibilities in the year ahead. Some other things we did locally, the Targeted Redevelopment Incentive Program, TRIP. We're working on a new and innovative ways to attract investments and activity in our city and in our downtown. As we know, these are integral to a vibrant community. So one example is the Targeted Redevelopment Incentive Policy, or TRIP as we like to call it. This policy provides an incentive for the construction or major renovations. A minimum construction value of $1 million of commercial, office, retail, and mixed-use projects that lead to significant and ongoing enhancements of the assessment base generated in the downtown. The city benefits from this program in that once the short-term cancellation period is over, a far greater amount of taxes are received due to the increased value of the property. So it's a bit of a tax holiday that's negotiated, and then at the end of that, after a few years, they return back to the normal tax assessment base. A great example of this is the 608 Health Project, which will significantly change the landscape of the area and increase traffic in the downtown while boosting the economy and the job market. So right across from the downtown transit terminal. This policy encourages development in the downtown, redevelopment, and will lead to greater property values and enhancements that will draw more activity into the downtown core. We continue to fund Heart of the City events, and the Heart of the City event grants recently $126,000 in seed money was provided. They are activity grants awarded to 21 events which will take place in the downtown in 2020. Those events will include a variety of music, arts, and cultural festivals that will attract audiences and participants to the downtown. Receiving funding are 14 multi-day events and 7 single-day events, which will occur over a total of 117 days and are expected to attract more than 60,000 people to the downtown core. More people, more activity, and more investment in the downtown will be key to a successful downtown. And then there's big business. Of course, there are enormous investments being made outside our downtown. I certainly was honored to attend the grand opening of Cavendish Farms' new processing facility in the Sharing Industrial Park, and I'm proud of the work and effort that went into attracting a company of Cavendish's size to expand in our city. From the very beginning of the negotiation process, City Council and administration worked hard to make the city an attractive place for Cavendish to do business. We have an excellent relationship with Cavendish, and it's one we want to preserve into the future. In the same way, we want to have that same relationship with all investors in our city, and those who choose to expand, and those who come to our city from elsewhere. By choosing to build in Lethbridge, Cavendish made the largest ever private investment in our city's history. It's a $430 million boost to our local economy, which signals to other companies and industries that Lethbridge is open for business. The construction and operation of this plant aids in retaining and sustaining employment in Lethbridge and the surrounding area, not to mention the peripheral business and opportunities that arise from having a facility of this size in our region. And if you want to understand how industrial investment triggers other investment, just drive through our industrial. Other mid-sized cities, other than Red Deer, really didn't have an industrial park. And for them to see our industrial park and all those condominium-style businesses that provide services to the industries in the industrial park, that's economic development. That's multiplier effect. And that's what happens when you have more businesses investing in our city. And those are small business, usually single-owner businesses or franchisees providing those services. So we move on to 2020 vision. Looking ahead to the year and beyond, there are some key areas of focus for our City Council. Key amongst them is continuing with the operational reviews and ensuring that we implement the recommendations and continuously improve to provide our citizens and residents with a healthy and vibrant community. Another key one is our municipal housing strategy. It's important to have safe, secure, and affordable housing. It's a top issue across Canada. Safe and secure housing was identified as a priority within Council's 2017 to 2021 strategic plan. Support for affordable housing comes from federal and provincial governments, and it's important again that Lethbridge gets its share. The root of the social issues that we have in our city is inadequate housing. The fact that people are not housed, means they don't have jobs. It just creates many more issues. We need to get the same services that are available, again, in Calgary and Edmonton, and that we are lacking in Lethbridge. To accomplish this goal, Council defined 3 actions: to review housing needs and create a municipal housing strategy. Second, to establish an integrated approach to helping people with their housing and their specific social needs. And third, to identify municipal housing needs and facilitate proposals that satisfy gaps in the city's housing market. A municipal housing needs assessment and strategy have been completed and approved by City Council. And we have money to work with partners who want to help us implement that strategy. We have about $3.5 million to allocate among projects to assist with the development of those projects. We have an important application into the provincial government for the $11.2 million that was approved for supported housing, and we're hopeful that Lethbridge will get more supported housing from the provincial government. The final step is the approval and fulfillment of the implementation plan, which I'm happy to say was unanimously approved by City Council. Addressing housing issues in Lethbridge is a shared responsibility and depends on the collaborative efforts of all housing partners, including the city, the province, and the federal government. Developers, builders, landlords, and property managers in the private and non-market sectors. So if we're looking at ways of moving our economy forward in a slow market for home builders, hopefully there will be opportunities to build social housing, supported housing, and other forms of housing across the spectrum, which will help stimulate our economy. City Council gave the green light to the proposed municipal housing strategy implementation plan, which outlines 51 action items. These action items range from reviewing land use bylaws to identifying opportunities to support development of affordable and supportive housing. This plan has been community-led and developed with engagement from many areas of the community. I'm hopeful that we will see support and enthusiasm from our residents as this work is carried out. Next, we have the Lethbridge Airport. The Lethbridge Airport has a proven track record of a strong economy and a major driver Let me track record of a strong economy was a major driver in taking ownership of Lethbridge Airport. So Lethbridge County did a good job of operating the airport, but for the airport to be an economic driver, it needs investment. The facility's 40 to 50 years old. We have benefited from having WestJet and Air Canada both providing services, and passenger volumes are up. But there's more to economic development at the airport than passenger volumes. That's important. But the other part is developing the airport lands and creating businesses which support the local economy. It would be devastating if the airport were ever to close or if the airlines were to cease service to Lethbridge. So we saw last year airlines ceasing service to Red Deer, to other cities like Lloydminster. That happened in Lethbridge, that would really harm our economy. So we need to make sure that there's continued investments in our airport and that use of the airport continues to grow. I know that can be a struggle, but today's economy demands next day service and delivery for businesses that operate in Lethbridge. And we need to have local businesses saying, that can't happen if everything has to be shipped to Calgary before it gets flown out to world markets. We want to attract world-class companies, and we know that we have to be able to fly out of Lethbridge and have people fly comfortably into Lethbridge, and we need to be able to ship effectively out of Lethbridge. Lethbridge City Council voted to approve funding to immediately upgrade a number of infrastructure items when we took over operations from the county in the summer of last year. Upgrading some of these basic facilities within the terminal improves the travel experience in the short term, but we're also looking to the long term too. We know our airport is continuing to see increased passenger traffic, and we want to ensure that we do everything we can to keep that growth moving in the right direction. Air passenger traffic has increased by 80% in the last 12 months, due in part to additional services from WestJet and Air Canada utilizing larger aircrafts to service their routes. That's positive. The renovation design list aims to build on that momentum and improve the traveler experience. Upgrades include increasing the size of the secure hold room, upgrades to the current washrooms to make them accessible, and addition of accessible washrooms in the pre-boarding areas, parking upgrades, water service upgrades, furnishing upgrades, and modernization. We're committed to investing in the airport. As we know, it's a major economic driver for our city. These infrastructure improvements prove that commitment is still strong, and it shows that we're thinking ahead for the future needs of our city and region. And again, we'll be looking for supports from the province and from the federal government. It aligns with the provincial goal of encouraging investment and diversifying our economy. Total estimated cost of implementing the immediate upgrades is approximately $700,000 and will be funded through the pay-as-you-go community program. Strategic goals. I want to assure our community that Council remains focused on moving our city forward, and we're doing so in a deliberate and thoughtful way. We will continue to work together to ensure that Lethbridge demonstrates active leadership in environmental stewardship and innovation and is recognized as being a safe, healthy, vibrant, prosperous, and economically viable place where all people can fully participate in community life. Last month, or this month, the Chamber of Commerce came to us with a study they had done on internet speeds in the city of Lethbridge. That is a key issue as well. But there were only 64 responses to that study. But we need to know how important are internet speeds to businesses in the city of Lethbridge. We have great information from the study, but we will be making key decisions before the end of May about how internet service might be delivered in the city of Lethbridge and who might deliver it. And we need lots of input from businesses. You as our partners need to tell us how important that is to your business and why. These goals Those strategic goals will continue to guide our decision-making now and in the future. I think the last thing I'd like to talk about is YQL Elevate. I'm not talking about noise in the traditional sense. It is about noise. But where you sometimes wish it was turned down so you could hear your spouse talking while you're out eating, or rather the type that reverberates loud and clear on social media. That's what we're talking about today. Negativity has a habit of finding its way to the top of the social media feed. It gets bigger and louder. The more attention it gets, and the more attention it gets, the more misconstrued it seems to get. It takes on a form of its own, a form that can sometimes be unrecognizable from what originally started as. It'd be great to see the world be as loud and as vivid in the good as it is in some of the hate that we see on social media. Imagine if good deeds or a kind interaction got as much traction as an unwelcome one. I truly believe that if we could shine light on more of the good that's happening in our city and more of the good that's happening around us in everyday life, the bad wouldn't be so loud. I love to spend time with my grandkids in our city. It's fun to go downtown, go into the candy store. Take one of my younger grandsons and we go into Scylla and we buy gifts for his sister and gifts for his mother. We have some awesome stores. We have some awesome restaurants in the downtown. Those businesses deserve our support. They don't need to suffer from the misery that some people prescribe on a daily basis on social media. I love cheering on the Hurricanes and eating with my family at those local restaurants. It's that simple. Sharing those experiences and those kind interactions, celebrating with your family in our city. Those are things that spread positivity. So I challenge all of you to shine a light on the simple, kind, and everyday good you can do and you can see every day in your travels. The more good we push out into the world, the brighter our outlook becomes. Thank you for your time today.